The mailman doesn't deliver on a Sunday.
If you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball.
Anthony for three. Bang! J.R. Smith! We just saw men fly. LeBron James with no regard for human life.
Cleveland! This is for you!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Coast to Coast. I am Ronan Gaine. Joining me as always, Chris Nambu. Thank you so much for making this podcast your first listen for NBA coverage. Remember, if you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, leave us a comment, let us know what you think. Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure that you leave that 5-star review. You do that, we'll keep producing that content. On today's episode, we're going to be discussing the race for MVP, the form of the Los Angeles Clippers out of the All-Star break, and where did the Houston Rockets go from here after their season kind of fell off a bit of a cliff? But before we get into all that, Chris, how you doing, man?
Pretty good, man. It's good to talk some NBA today. Look, we got the day off. There's no sunshine here in Boston yet. It's still like 20 degrees, so nothing new but stay inside, watch some Rockets clips, and talk about that today. So I'm pumped to do it. And let's see. Is the word of the day sample size? Because we want to talk about the Clippers and their 4 games.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm just gonna say, like, obviously that game, what was it, on Wednesday evening? Seeing that LeBron James can still turn into Superman was obviously, that was a lot of fun. It was cool to see him just go off. That 19 points to 5 triples, just unbelievable to make that 21-point comeback in the fourth quarter against the Clippers. Obviously, really cool seeing that. Lakers are still so questionable, and they tried to make that win mute by really struggling against the Wizards last night. But on the Clippers, I know they've been kind of injured out of the All-Star break. George missed a couple of games. Zubac was missing on Wednesday too. You get the vibe that the Clippers are kind of just thinking now out of the All-Star break, it's just we'll be fine here. We're not going to get the 1 seed. Let's just worry about being healthy when we get to the playoffs. Do you think they're looking ahead now rather than staying in the moment of the regular season?
I don't get that vibe. I don't get that vibe. I still feel the intensity there. I still feel especially from Kawhi. Like, Kawhi continues to really push his performance. Ways the shooting form has been of late, ways still attacking the rim. And you still get that defensive intensity from the team there. I mean, when you play LeBron, I mean, that game in particular, like that was a really hard fought comeback by the Lakers. And I think there was not enough firepower to respond from the Clippers on that end. And that's where Paul George, I think, comes in line. But I mean, as Coach Ham said, like, LeBron just kind of pulled the cape out. Interesting word choice, he said. He just had to whip it out. But we won't comment on that. Darvin Ham just has some very, very interesting post-game interview styles, but I digress. The Clippers, I'm not worried. It's 4 games. They need to get Paul George back. They've hovered around a top 5 net rating ever since Harden has joined, and that's continued. And we've seen that form. We've seen how well their offense has gelled with Harden at the helm, with Kawhi continuing to be just outstanding offensively. But I'm not worried.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I just kind of got that vibe. Just seeing the 1 and 3, and just like with George being out, obviously I know they've said that the George injury is not going to be too serious. He could be back next game, have Zubac back, and they'll be back to normal and winning. It just, I think are they like 4 games off? Have the Nuggets and the other 2 kind of split a bit from them since the All-Star break with the run that they've been on. So like, you're kind of thinking if any of the teams below, like the Pelicans, like the Suns or the Mavs, can really put together a strong run, maybe they could catch the Clippers. But
I mean, yeah, we talked about it. Their strength of schedule, top 10 in difficulty. Just looking at their schedule, I mean, they got Minnesota coming up, Milwaukee coming up, and we're gonna talk about the Rockets. I mean, the Rockets have been on a slump, but they're no easy out either, and they're on national television. Chicago has just become such a fantastic trap team this season. So you face Chicago, you think, oh, okay, that's easy. But then
the beast Andre Drummond.
Andre, like, he is approaching like Dennis Rodman level, like rebounding at times when you get him to start. No comment on that. We know so.
He's been awesome. I don't want to get into the Bulls, but
he's been awesome, man.
Drummond has been great.
Let's
for the
not
Bulls.
say it. Don't say it, because anytime we say anything nice about the Bulls, they make it worse. But yeah, Milwaukee twice, Minnesota twice, Chicago twice. New Orleans is also not an easy out either. So that's just over the course of their next 10 games. This is a tough stretch. They need Paul George back. And if you talk to me 5 games from now and they're losing still like 75% of the games, then I guess I'm worried. But I think at the end of the day, if we've seen how good they can be, we've seen it consistently. And I think if they do kind of like settle in and try to stay healthy for the playoffs, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
No.
I still think they're going to be in the top 6. They're not going to sink to the play-in. And if I had to like put a crystal ball and choose, okay, have some guys rest, let Paul George get some extra time and be actually fully healthy. Say Kawhi's got a couple like just sore joints, rest him a couple bit. I'd rather take that 100 times out of 100 than risk, having another lost season, because they can't afford that.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Like when I say I'm worried about them, I don't mean like I just think they're like in terms of regular season, they're not really thinking about that. They're focused on the playoffs. Like as long as they're healthy in the playoffs, they're still the next best option outside of the Nuggets in the Western Conference. I think that's that's my thinking there. I'm not like ruling them out of contention. They're going to drop off or anything like that.
Yeah,
and the
I
Lakers,
would love to see from them is like if they rested Kawhi and Paul George, like imagine they just rested those 3, and then they're like, all right, Russ, can you just give us a 40-minute just like triple double here? Just you get the ball. Like I want to see a Russ performance. If we're gonna get that out of this, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, for real. And then obviously the Lakers are similar sort of buzz in terms of their schedule next. I think they've got 11 of 12 at home. All 12 are in California. The only road game is against the Kings, but they've got like tough teams coming to LA. I really think like if the Lakers are really going to make any sort of push to not finish in the 9 or 10 seed, they got to go like 8 of 11 in these next games, and that won't be easy because they face the Thunder, the Wolves, the Bucks, the Kings. Like they've got a lot of big time teams coming.
Nuggets tomorrow too.
Like
this
the Nuggets,
is a gauntlet.
like it's gonna be real tough for them, and they're gonna show it now. This stretch, this 11 or 12 games at home, this is the time that they gotta make the move. If it's there for them.
Yeah, the Lakers. I mean, just to like go on that, not just in terms of actual basketball outcomes, but you talked a couple weeks ago about perceptions. They are on TV 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games out of their next 11 in this point of the season where they need to just accumulate wins. They need to they can't afford to be losing any games here in order to stay in the playoffs. They're just going to continue to be a storyline if they can't be successful with what this is going to be really tough. Like Denver, OKC, Milwaukee, Minnesota, Golden State, like they need to destroy Sacramento, Golden State. They need to win that Atlanta game, obviously. Who knows if Embiid is back by Philly. Like this is going to be such a tough stretch, and they're just going to be on ESPN every day about every loss that they managed to get here.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of the higher end of the spectrum in the NBA, the MVP race, before the season started, we both picked Jason Tatum as our pick for MVP. Over the last few weeks and months, he's starting to gain more traction, and a lot of people saying that he should be the number 1 option for MVP because he is the best player on the best team. But seeing how the season has played out, I probably have him 4th, maybe even 5th on my list. What is your thoughts on that?
It's funny, we talked about it, and we don't talk about the Celtics enough right now because they've just established this very boring level of success right now. And now it's to the point where I feel like the MVP always becomes about storylines, and it becomes about, okay, well, if that team's that good and he's like not like super outperforming everybody else, then is he really the most valuable? But it's such an arbitrary award at times in situations like this where I think you can obviously see how a player like Tatum is sacrificing for his team. Like he doesn't get as many touches. He's going to move the ball. He's going to be a good teammate. He's going to commit to the defensive end. He's going to commit to spreading the ball out. He's not going to be in ISO all the time. But oh wait, he's still the top 5 in ISO creation. He's still one of those guys who you can rely on in those situations. But It's tough not to think of your guys like Shea. I mean, because that storyline is a lot more exciting. He's the leader of a very young team who's top 3, top 5 team in the NBA right now. It's tough not to think about, still what Jokic is doing, because statistically, Jokic is still really the MVP if you look at the stats wise. And he's still maintaining that level of success that's still just a small level above what Tatum's doing. So I don't know. It's always a really tough award. I don't envy the people who have to make those decisions and get railed for it. But I think if you really do believe in best team, best player on that best team, then I think he's obviously shown that.
So, in your opinion, it should be like, obviously it's not saying that this is the way that it is. So, in your opinion, you think the best player on the best team should be the MVP? Is that you're thinking? Like if it was your choice to make that call.
No, I guess the answer to that is no, because I think it's more nuanced than that, and I think that it's, I mean, literally, if I'm just taking most valuable player, it's still Jokic to me.
Yeah,
If you take all the stat lines away, or not stat lines, if you take all the storylines away, I mean, he still is the most valuable player in the league. If you put him on any team in the league, they become an instant championship contender. I'm sure you can say that for a few guys, but him especially. And the Nuggets are still, in my mind, championship favorites. And he hasn't slowed down. That nothing's changed from how he's been over the past 3 years. And Embiid's hurt. I think it's literally just process of elimination for me. This is Jokic's league right now still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like that's what it is. Like when I look at the MVP, I think it's the most valuable individual to whatever team that certain player is on. Like how important is that individual to the team that they play on? And like you look at like Tatum within Boston, like I'm not trying to discredit Tatum here, but like you think say if Tatum had missed the time that Embiid had missed this year, you can really make the argument the Celtics could still be a top 4 team in the East even without Tatum. Like even if he missed a lot of time, Denver, maybe they could have scraped the top 6 in the West, but the West is so tough. If Jokic is missing all that time, it'd be really tough for them. But then you look at like OKC, like they'd be in the play-in at best if Shea had missed a lot of games. And then you think if like Luka's next on that list, like the Mavs would be 10th or worst if Luka was missing major time. But in terms of this Tatum on the whole, like you look at like points per game, he's ranking 10th in the league. Rebounds per game, 28th in the league. Assists per game, 53rd in the league. He has tied a career high in field goal percentage. He's shooting well for him from 3. And like his combined stats have him ranked in 8th overall in the league. And like those sort of numbers, they're just not MVP numbers. I know he's still playing great, and I know he's sacrificing that, but at this moment, he's having the smallest winning impact in his career on the Boston Celtics because the team it just has been built and it is just so good. He's also got the 3rd best net rating on his team. So I know that comes from sacrifice, and I know what he brings is still the X factor for this team. But in terms of MVP, he's just not there for me.
Yeah, that's why the best player on best team thing is kind of tough to say. And I think even though Tatum is deserving to be in discussion, absolutely. I mean, I think. I mean, if I were just going to think about individual impact, I would probably pick Donovan Mitchell over him at this point. Mm-hmm. And that's why I don't love the MVP conversations, because they really take away a lot of the nuance, because you could say, hey, you flip those situations, you put Tatum on the Cavs. I think Tatum would probably make a similar impact, but he doesn't need to, because what this team is doing right now, look how good Derek White's been able to be this season. Look how good Peyton Pritchard has been able to be off the bench. Look how good all these players on the Celtics have been. And you don't always see that on teams that have like singular focal points. Like this is not a heliocentric team where it's Jason Tatum and then everybody else. It's not Luka Doncic and everybody else. It's not Jokic and then everybody else. Mitchell, everybody. Like this is a very, very balanced team, and I don't think it's a situation where a guy like Tatum can win MVP. I mean, I thought maybe there's another level to it, but maybe this is the better thing to do. I mean, how often has Kawhi Leonard been, an MVP conversation? Not always often. I mean, he's not. That's not really his style of play until it gets into the playoffs, and you need that. And I think we can expect that from Tatum.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And then just in terms of the race as a whole, I know like the answer probably it is Jokic. Like what he's doing is insane. I kind of would like to see Shea win it, especially if the Thunder finish above the Nuggets in the standings. I would like to see Shea get the award. But if Jokic was to win the award now, like I mean, that's kind of launching him into another realm in terms of his greatness, because it doesn't happen too often where a guy wins MVP, then doesn't win it for a year and then wins it again. That just shows the level of dominance that he has, even though you might make the argument that he wasn't going to win it if Embiid stayed healthy. But regardless, what he's doing is still just insane in Denver. Like every night he has a triple double. Pretty much like every other night he shoots like 90 or 100% from the field. Like it's just insane what he is doing with the Nuggets. And like if they're going to be healthy, if they're all guns blazing coming into the playoffs, it's just so tough to see anyone beating them. Especially like I just love kind of the games where you see them, no matter how good the Warriors are playing, no matter how good the Lakers are playing, they go up against Denver and Denver just pushes them aside. Sorry, this is our time now, you know?
Yeah, it always they play a different game at times. And it's tough with Shea because you want, and I said like the storyline, you want to give it to not just him but that team, and everything they've done. I think we're starting to take for granted a little bit because they've maintained that success without a ton of lows. Like I think a lot of young teams, I mean, even the Timberwolves at times, like they have a couple lows. But I think the OKC has been like they've been so consistent at what they do, and Shea's been so consistent at what he does, and bringing it on both ends as well. Like one of the few truly gifted scorers in this league that also is producing defensively as well, and he's doing it at a level that really no other guard has done on both ends of the floor in a long time. So I mean those are reasons to even consider voting for him over Jokic, but still like it feels like it's not close, and it's kind of crazy to think about like how good Jokic is whenever you have these conversations.
Yeah, no, you kind of when you take a moment to just look back and observe it, it's just it's pretty insane what Jokic is doing in the MVP race. But another just quickly on the most improved race is Jalen Williams out in OKC. Is he the number 2 option behind Maxey for most improved this year?
I'd say he's behind Kobe White, but that's just
Oh, okay.
Come on, man. They gotta give Chicago something. I mean, Jalen Williams over Maxey kind of like reached that. And Jalen, that's if they don't give Shea the MVP, I guess you got to give that team something because Chestnut winning Rookie of the Year.
Especially after he got owned by Wemby last night, right?
Yeah, off that last block. What Wemby, man, just real quick, what Wemby did in the fourth quarter, those pull-up threes, man, he still does things like they said that just drop your jaw. It's insane. But on Jalen Williams, I think the argument for him is like not only does he definitely fit the bill for a most improved type player, he's doing it on a team that's aiming very high.
Mm-hmm.
This is not to take away from what like a player like Kobe White is doing, because I think you got to give credit for Kobe White where he's doing it in a situation that's just objectively falling apart. But Jalen Williams on both ends of the floor, I mean, he's evolving in every way that his scouting report showed, and few players do that. It's really tough, like as we've found over the last few years, like really trying to like work on our scouting of rookies and college players, and all the things that he's shown as a college player has developed into something real in the NBA this early in his career. The playmaking, the defense, the off-ball shooting, the pull-up shooting too, what he's able to achieve offensively, playing him as a point guard. Like that's just stuff that at this point, at his young age, it's just insane. So yeah, I think I would give it to him at this point, to the point of giving OKC something. I mean, they got to win. Someone's got to win some award there. I mean, Mark Daniel, maybe he gets Coach of the Year, but yeah, hats off. I would say Jalen Williams deserves it.
Yeah, I will say that at least you picked Joe Mazzulla as your Coach of the Year preseason, and then that's looking like a pretty damn good bet so far. So you're definitely definitely in the lead in terms of the predictions before the start of the season. Before we get into the Houston Rockets, I just want to mention one thing. The Detroit Pistons at this moment are not the worst team in the NBA. They are currently 14th in the Eastern Conference. After the loss for the Wizards last night, the Wizards are now currently the worst team in the National Basketball Association. So shout out to the Pistons. They're not the worst for this, maybe just a day.
I told you. It's only going to get better. It can't get worse.
They can always try. All right. Houston Rockets. We jumped into them early this season. We got a lot of praise to them. They went on that little run early on the season. But recently they've kind of fallen off a cliff. They're pretty much, I think they're out of the play-in contention. Where are they? What are they looking at now? Like what are the moves they're going to make moving forward? What are the positives you've seen so far this season in Udoke's first year?
Yeah, I mean, it's been really tough losing 24 of the last 36. Seeing some old offensive trends that you saw last year. At times where, the game shift away from team ball to just kind of your turn, my turn, whether that's, on Jabari doing it, Şengün doing it, Green doing it. And I think where we should probably start is about a positive. I mean, this season has been the biggest part of the season is two things. One is that their defense is real, and bringing in Udoke, bringing in the vets has created a culture of valuing that end of the floor. That is real. And point 1B rather, like Şengün is part of that. They can play defense with Şengün on the floor. And that's something that was a major question of this roster construction. That was one of the biggest things at the beginning of the season is, all right, you got all these pieces here. You bring in the defensive coach. Does Şengün even fit in that? Does he get out of the rotation because they're valuing a different way of playing? And it's been the exact opposite. They've been able to be good defensively with him on the floor. And he's been the focal point of the offense when they really focus in on that end. So positives there, I think, are huge because for the long term with this coach pairing and with the signings that they had, I think that they have at least established their foundation right there. But what has continued to be a struggle is the offense and figuring out their identity on that end of the floor. And I think that's where we start on the negatives. And let's just talk about Jalen Green for a second. I mean, third season, I was a huge believer, not just as a rookie, but going to second year. Really capped it off his rookie year with was 40-point game and then averaging over 20 points a game last season and just really looking like he was going to ascend in that third year, kind of take that Anthony Edwards level trajectory. And it's been a tough adjustment. It's been tough. And we've heard the talk about him being frustrated with his role. Obviously he's had less touches. He's had less opportunities on the ball, which I think personally is a good thing. But how do you feel about where he's been offensively and how his efficiency has dipped, and if this is something to be worried about or just a natural course of figuring out where he is in this team?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough with him because like his usage as a whole hasn't really gone down by that much.
It's not. It's the same as Şengün's, yeah.
Like it's gone down by 0.8% from last year, and you would have thought that would have been pretty drastic given that they brought in a point guard like Fred VanVleet. Like it hasn't taken that massive drop off, but he hasn't really been able to sustain what he was doing last year or even improve on it, which is what was the real hope. Still only a 21-year-old kid. That's the slight thing you think about it. He's still coming into a new coach. This is still such a young team, and sometimes it can be tough to really flourish when it's full of guys that are trying to figure it out kind of way. But I'd be a bit on the side of, has this season kind of shown the Rockets that maybe they're going to move on from him? What we've seen from Whitmore, what we've seen from Amen Thompson, like obviously they spent all that money on Fred VanVleet. I feel like this year is kind of a year where they're maybe thinking that Jalen Green might just be surplus to requirements, and maybe this team will fit better if he is not part of it. That's the vibe I'm kind of getting from his form and just from the performance of some of the other guys within the team.
Yeah, and that's when you approach the offseason, and obviously this is not the offseason, but we've just established the reality that the Rockets are probably they're not going to perform in the playoffs at this point. And they've made massive strides. And I think that's what we talked about early in the season, is that this is all great, but it's probably going to take more time than just this. I still don't, the option of moving on from him is a tricky one. I mean, look at what the Kings did in similar position, where they know that Halliburton's young and he's talented, but you could win now if you get Sabonis. Had the best year of their the last 2 decades for the Kings. But I don't know how much buyer's regret is still there, or seller's regret, you should say. As you see how good Halliburton is, another system that emphasizes him. Now, that is not a comparison of those two players at all. I'm merely thinking about the fact that, as you said, he's so young, and there's so many different ways this team has not tried yet. Even in this, we've only played through 70% of the season, and that's one season together with these guys. This is the first season really where Alperen Şengün is like a legitimate hub of an offense, and Green is trying to adjust to that. I think Green's potential is so much higher than what it is right now, because he hasn't learned how to be an off-ball player fully. Maybe that's something that's not in his DNA, but I mean, you just see how good he can be when he's cutting. He's only doing that 2 times a game. You see how good he can be coming off screens, shooting the ball. Unblockable, uncontestable with his athleticism, the amount of height he gets on his jumper. Doesn't do that as frequently, and somehow that efficiency has just not been there. You see how good he can be in handoffs. That only happens 1.5 times per game, 70th percentile there. There are just so many parts of his game that hasn't been able to adjust to this system, that the idea of trading that's tough, because they have assets. And how often do you see, like, if a star player asks out, team is asking for talented young player plus draft assets. And you look across the league and it's like, all right, well, who's actually going to get off of their promising young player? That rarely ever happens. So, I mean, this is a recipe brewing for, I think, a potential irresponsible decision if they get off too soon. But maybe you mentioned Amen Thompson, you mentioned Cam Whitmore. I mean, maybe you see alternate reality there, where Josh Green, awesome, but we also have 2 awesome guys that we can invest in that we think could be as good or better in different areas that we need more. And if we can get that star player and develop those guys, then maybe this is something that does happen. It's one of those rare situations, like kind of a Tyrese Halliburton situation, where you trade off a guy that a lot of people in the league are like, well, I think he's going to be a future star player. So both things can be correct, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And then, like, I think Amen Thompson's kind of really starting to look like a guy that I think Udoke will love, because he's really starting to look like that 2-way threat. He's really starting to look like that impactful player on both ends. Obviously got that insane athleticism. And like Cam Whitmore has been impressive. Like, he early in the season, he wasn't really getting in the rotation. He wasn't really getting many minutes. But over the last while, I think we're seeing a lot more of him. He's averaging 12 points per game off the bench. Like, he's looked good. Like, he was a great pickup for them in the off season, in the draft. Like, we've already seen with the Rockets, like they've had we've seen Udoka put his imprint on this team straight off the bat. Like, they've gone from the 29th ranked defense to the 6th ranked defense. Like, that is a ginormous jump. They're slightly improved in terms of offense too, but I think it's easier to coach. Yeah, you make the argument it can be easier to coach offense than it is to coach defense, and figuring out the defense first is maybe a positive. Maybe that they just need a different type of coach, like you mentioned, maybe a different coach to come in and figure out how to blend a better offense to really match this defense and really turn this team into a winner.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's funny you say that, because I think that it depends on the situation. You look at, depends what your personnel is. I think it's easier to coach defense when you got a guy like Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet on the floor, and then you throw Uncle Jeff out there too. And then when you get a guy like Tari Eason who loves playing, and that is also another point to this season. We're talking about the whole. It's unfortunate that Tari has been injured, because, man, he's looked like a steal over the last couple of years, and defensively, kind of a wild comparison that Udoka called him a young Kawhi Leonard. But I mean, hey, like the playmaking, he's got a little bit of shown a little bit more on offense, the defense. But And I feel like offensively for a unique group like this, it is a little tough. And that's why I'm wondering, is there a role for an offensive coordinator on a team like this? Can you bring in another offensive mind to the coaching staff that can figure this out? Because they don't naturally mesh, and you don't have a lot of natural playmakers outside of Şengün. Fred VanVleet is like, I mean, he's the most common word used for him is a steward, and that is not a knock at all. But he's 70th percentile in pick and roll creation. He's not the best pull up mid range shooter, so teams don't have to worry too much about his jump shot coming off the screen. And as a passer, I mean, he is short, so it's tough for him to really make some of those advanced passes at his height in the pick and roll. So like their lead point guard is not doing that. Not Josh Green, Jalen Green. There's too many Greens right now, man. Especially in the Western Conference. But Jalen Green, I mean, he's in the 50th percentile for a reason. He's making some of the simple reads, but he's not a great creator there. And I think that's why they're trying to take him off ball. Then Amen Thompson, a guy who really can't shoot at all, but he's probably their most gifted passer already. And it's tough to try and figure out how to run an offense like that. Because if you were coaching an offense where you just had a natural pick and roll creator, natural center who just rim rolls, there you go. There's a big foundation block of your offense. But there's just a lot of players on this team that don't have that seamless fit where you got to have something creative. I think you've seen kind of how offenses have changed with coaching, like you saw with the 76ers this year, how they're running so many more off-ball actions to get shooters open around Embiid. And I don't know, stuff like that. Stuff like what you've seen with Nick Nurse in 76ers, running that with Şengün. Because my concern about Şengün is, we could shift the conversation to him a little bit, is I think the common wisdom would think, okay, let's just like force everything through Şengün. He's been such a good passer. He's been really great in the post. But as the defense has really adjusted to him, his efficiency in the post has gone way down. He's still scoring a lot, but his efficiency, I mean, he's below the 50th percentile in efficiency in post-ups. He's doing the second most, so it's tough to kind of say, but the double and triple teams he's even talked about has been tough for him. So just compounding that with the shooting. So there's got to be more than just, okay, just give the ball more to Şengün.
Yeah, it's kind of figuring out that balance that doesn't kind of take away from his game, but also uses his almost as the main hub, and he can still be that go-to guy, and maybe they'll figure it out. I think the question they got to ask themselves is like, do we want to give this another year next year, or is it time to make another move? Because obviously they were aggressive in the free agent market last year. They obviously spent a lot of their cap, but now they've got assets where they could make another trade this summer if one became available on it, and if they really wanted it. So the big question I think that Houston Rockets front office needs to ask themselves between now and the summer is, do we want to give this another year? This is still a very young team. We've seen a big increase on our defense. Do we want to give it a year to see if maybe the offense can balance out on that end, or do we want to be aggressive and maybe try and press fast forward on this process?
Yeah. I don't think I really hope they don't fast forward. There's too many unknowns. You don't know how good these three wings could be. And there is a world in which they all can work together. I mean, the future is if you can have Thompson, Green, Whitmore, and Şengün, if somehow that can work together, and Tari, then obviously maybe not all on the same floor together, but ideally I think they'd all say, hey, we're NBA starters. If there's a world in which that exists, where you can grow all your talent there, I don't think you decide that after 1 year, and you can't. Obviously, they have some draft assets, and maybe they have to make that decision next summer. But I think there should be a level of positivity in what they have achieved, and just realistically, what maybe they just need a coaching change. Maybe they just need to like work together for a summer on offense and figure out what really worked for them. Because I think at times is the disorganization on offense comes from the inconsistent shooting on the outside, and hopefully that gets better. But I don't. It
Oh,
just seems too soon.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, when you say coach change, I think you don't mean get rid of Udoke. You
No,
mean add in an offensive mind beside
yeah,
him as an assistant or
yeah,
something. Yeah, that's what you mean.
exactly.
I just wanted to confirm that for the listeners. I knew what
No,
you were
no,
going
no, no.
for. Just
Yeah,
as long as
I'm a huge fan of what Udoka's done, and he's done exactly what he's been asked to do. And the players obviously have said great things about him. And I mean, look at the biggest win for Udoka, I think, is how well he's coached Şengün, which
Mhm.
I did not expect. I did not expect. You didn't really see that sort of play in Boston. They didn't have that sort of player. You didn't know if Udoka would be able to have a similar kind of approach to him, and he really has. And it's really paid dividends in his development.
Yeah, it's been quite helpful to my fantasy team as well,
All that matters.
I'm sure Amy Udoka was thinking about my fantasy team when he came
it's
in.
It's really helped support your what are you, the 7th seed?
Hey, I'm on the rise. Well, no, not really. I'm on the outskirts of the play-in at the moment. Yeah, I'm on the Lakers right now. But I think that'll wrap it up. I think be patient, Houston. Don't there's no need to rush here. This is still a young team, and you gotta make sure you remember that. Look at the Brooklyn Nets. Pressing the fast forward button doesn't usually doesn't often work out. It definitely doesn't always work out. It's more likely to fail than it is to succeed, in my opinion. So definitely, Houston Rockets, time to be patient.
Yeah.
Should we do something we haven't done in a while? The weekly Wemby check-in.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Alien dude. That what was it? Last Thursday against the Lakers. That the 5x5 game, like just insane. Then last night against the Thunder, he was the first ever player with 28, 10 boards, 5 assists, 5 blocks. Like, dude is just, and 5 threes as well. The dude is just, he's next level. When he really figures it out, and when the Spurs have any sort of decent team around him, like, watch out.
Yeah, it's funny that you want him to get the ball more, and we're just checking over usage, and he's top 30 in usage in the league. So I mean, he's being used like one of the top 30 players in the league. And as a rookie too, that's insane. I want to say he's approaching like 28, 29% usage. But I mean, dude, him and Chet, is that our favorite matchup in the league? Like,
Yeah, I love it.
I mean, just comparing that to like when you see like Curry versus LeBron or Kawhi versus LeBron, or when you get Celtics versus Heat, just those matchups that you look forward to. Like I really hope the Spurs continue to build over the season, because that matchup is something that everyone looks forward to at this point. And I mean, hey, the Spurs pulled it off. Spurs got the win against OKC. I mean, OKC is not a team that lies down, and they got a good team win. So at least in that game, I got to give him credit. But man, Wemby's just been still insane. Unfortunately, we won't see him in the playoffs. Hopefully that's not something we predicted. So that's not something that we fumbled. Today might have been a big review of predictions we fumbled, but at least we didn't go that far.
No, like I said before, like he's obviously been a good rookie. He's had games where he's done insane things, but like I said before, unless he's doing full Michael Jordan level rookie season, there was no hope of them doing anything. And we were right on that one. We didn't go too crazy on it. But what he has done, the player he looks like he's going to be, like when you see some of the things he does at his size, and like the times when you see him dunk and he just walks up and just places the ball gently into the rim, doesn't have to jump, doesn't have to do anything, just places it straight in the rim. It's just, he is just a freak of nature, and as long as he stays healthy, the things he could do as a two-way player in this league, like he can eclipse so many great players if he stays healthy, and the Spurs really build a legit team around him, and it could happen quick. Like don't be shocked if he's like a top 10 player in the league by this time next year, especially when you think of the fact that he's probably averaging maybe like 5, 6, even 7 minutes less than he probably will as he moves forward in his career. Like when he starts getting legit like 33, 34 minutes a night, think about what he could do.
Yeah, I think because one of my favorite things about him is watching him play defense, and not even the blocks. It's just where he is positioned on the floor. So they take him off of Chet, they put him on a non-shooter, and he is like defending like almost half the half court, like where he's at time. He's almost like zoning up, and the couple of blocks that he got on Jalen Williams and on Shea, he was like almost at the elbow on the weak side, and he just takes one step, he's contesting it or just completely blocking it off the side of the backboard, and like that. If he is a top 10 player, I wouldn't be surprised because of his defensive impact. Just thinking about like who is a better defender than him in the league. Obviously, what you see from Giannis, I mean, he's doing things that Giannis does like right now. Post defender, I mean that's where like, can he beef up? Can he get a little bigger? Can he be a guy that can survive a guy like Jokic, a guy like Embiid? I mean that would really truly set him apart as special if he can get a little bit stronger in the post. But I mean, just what he does defend, it's insane. The amount of ground he covers, the reads that he has too, because Shea doesn't get blocked a lot because he's so crafty. Like you don't know where he's going to release from. You don't know if he's going to get another step through. You don't know if he's going to scoop or if he's going to fade or if he's going to turn. And like Wemby just has those kind of instincts to just get the block, and it's insane.
Yeah, and also he can just like he can be five steps away from the guy and just stretch out a hand and block it with these
He's
two.
just there.
Which
He's
is just,
everywhere. Yeah.
Which is also very, very helpful. And obviously last night I loved his reaction as well when he was getting interviewed after the game, just about how much he loved winning. Like that's something that he's kept on going back to all year. Like he's pissed off that this team is not winning. His whole focus is winning. He doesn't care what he's doing. He wants to be winning. Even after they compared him with that stat that only Michael Jordan had along with him, he was like, yeah, but did Michael Jordan lose when he did it? Probably not. Like his whole focus, his whole mindset is being part of a winning team, and maybe it happens this year. I think the Spurs would be smart to be aggressive in the off season to at least add some piece to really help Wemby flourish from year 2 on, because like there's no, obviously you can be patient, but there's also an element of this can be great very quickly if the options are there for them.
Yeah. I'll keep preaching patience. I'm afraid of the AD situation. You trade away all your assets. You make the move too soon. Obviously this draft isn't great, but I think they'll, if they're aggressive, what's the biggest thing you need to add?
A legit point guard, like I was saying before with the trio. I think the legit point guard that can just feed Wemby for days, who could be a threat as an outside shooter. I think that'd be the main thing that I'm looking at. Obviously, there's the things with defense and different other things like that, but in terms of the main need, it's that point guard to really be the ultimate number 2 to Wemby's Superman.
Yeah. What I did want to go back real quick, super quick. There's one question I have in general about the Rockets that we didn't cover, because you mentioned Cam Whitmore. It made me think.
Sure.
Let's just rewind to Cam Whitmore and what we've seen from him. Can you picture a team with Cam Whitmore and Jalen Green together? Based on what you see from Cam, his lack of playmaking, Green's clear lack of natural playmaking, both of them on the floor together.
Probably not.
Probably not, right? And I think that's the one thing I want to close on the Rockets for before we end, is just thinking about that. That is the one long-term thing that I think about as I continue watching play. That those two guys are too similar in how their approach to the game that I can't imagine long-term that working out, because I think Cam is a true starter and could be an offensive star, and I think kind of the same thing for Green. So
yeah, I think, and then but you're thinking also, is they're closer to the time where they have to make a decision on whether or not they want to pay Jalen Green. So that's why I think maybe he could be the one that goes.
You trade him to a team that's willing to pay him next year. Yeah.
That's kind of that's the other side of the coin there. It's not just a decision on the players; it's whether or not you want to pay this guy, and they have a little bit extra time to wait before they have to make that decision with Cam Whitmore.
Yeah. So we close on the Rockets, close on Wemby. Anything else you're looking forward to in this stretch of the post All-Star break. How your Mavs doing? They're still looking okay, but
No,
coughing up that
Luka's
game
looking
against.
awesome. Yeah, the loss to the Pacers was bad. Obviously, Max Strus. We didn't even mention Max Strus. Like that shot,
That's where we're going. Yep.
the ultimate heat check from Max Strus. Like he played 5 minutes, he hit 5 threes, he hit that shot from half court, the smoothest half court heave I think anyone's ever seen. That shot from Max Strus. Like that was obviously a really really tough loss for the Mavs, but the way that the Cavaliers won it, you just gotta give props to them in that situation.
Yeah, I think that's probably the greatest heat check of last 5 years maybe. I haven't seen anything like that. What was it? 12 straight points in the last 5 minutes or so to win the game. The buzzer beat, that was insane.
Yeah, that's like I couldn't believe when I was watching that, and it's like you think the game is done. Like there's like 2.1 seconds to go. They didn't have a timeout. Max Strus on the ultimate heater of his career just produces like that. Just obviously insane. Cavs then they dropped. Who did they lose to? They lost a bad game the night after that, right? Who did they lose to? I can't even think.
It's to us. It's the Bulls.
Yeah, to the Bulls.
The
Sorry,
double
yeah, the
overtime.
double overtime. But yeah, like you said, the Bulls have become a bit of a tricky team. Like they've beaten some good teams, and if they're in games down in the clutch, you got DeRozan, you got guys making big plays. Drummond having the impact that he's having. Vooch is starting to have a better impact again as well. Kobe's still hitting his shots. Like they've become a bit of a tricky team, and I think a team that people are probably underestimating because it's been such a iffy season because of like losing Levine. You kind of just forget about the Bulls, and they're kind of taking advantage of that.
Yeah, I mean, you never know what you're gonna get. Are they gonna lose to the Detroit Pistons, or are they gonna win in double overtime to the Cleveland Cavs? Depends on the night. It's an emotional roller coaster. And we play Milwaukee tonight, so I mean that if you're looking for a trap game, that's the one on ESPN. You never know.
Yeah, they're gonna want to make that statement on national TV. You know, that's just that's what the Bulls are all about. I think the big thing I'm looking at now between now and the end of the season is the race for the 4, 5, and 6 seed in the Eastern Conference. I think that's really interesting with the way the Knicks are struggling with the injured players, the way obviously Philly are struggling, the good form the Miami Heat have been in of late. Obviously, they lost last night to the Nuggets, but I think we can allow that. It's okay to lose to the Nuggets, but outside of that, the form they've been in has been really good. They're looking like they're primed to make a late season push. Can the Pacers take advantage? Like I hope they would. They've been a bit iffy at the All-Star break, won games. Like they obviously beat the Pels the other night, which was good. They beat the Mavs, which was great, but they also dropped the game to the Raptors, which was pretty bad. So they're still kind of a bit.
I mean, Raptors have looked good. They're another team too. Like after the major trades they made, like they've shown they've gotten a lot better.
They have, but the Pacers should still be wanting to beat the Toronto Raptors. That's just they took their best player. They gotta want to make the make that impact count. But yeah, that's kind of something I'm definitely looking forward to for the rest of the season. That race, see what happens. See when Knicks get their players back. Tom Thibodeau says he thinks he could get all three back by the end of March, which obviously would be great. Gives them enough time to kind of get back into things before the playoffs. Thankfully, Philly are struggling so much that maybe the Knicks won't drop off that great a deal into the play-in or anything like that. The worry I do have is watching Brunson the last couple of games, watching a couple of the other guys. They're starting to look a little tired,
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm telling
looking
you.
a bit worn down, and that's just the negative of the Tom Thibodeau system. And it's tough. Like I was saying this, I don't know if I said it on the pod, but I've been saying it to some guys before the season. Like, this is going to be a true test of Tom Thibodeau. Does his system it just doesn't work in the modern NBA? Does it just demand too much? I hate saying this because you got to demand a lot of your players. You can't go easy on them, but like the Knicks they put in so much every game, every night of training. You know, they're just pushed so hard and they're pushed to the limits. Even in games they're winning, they still have to be out on the floor. Like they're I think it's gonna be too tired when it gets to the playoffs. That's something we've seen. Maybe it's not tiredness. Maybe it's just not having that playoff nous. We've definitely seen it with Julius Randle, but that's the worry that you still have with the Knicks, especially watching them of late.
Yeah, I mean, I'm continuing to be worried about it. I've seen it firsthand with the Bulls. I've seen it just like you've seen it over and over with the Knicks, and they need to be healthy come the postseason because they have a chance. I mean, they have a chance to really do something, I think. And just talking about the 5 and 6, I mean, the Magic and the Pacers are coming. The Magic, they've won, I believe, 12 of their last 15. They've looked like they've kind of flipped the script a bit after kind of a slow December, November. And the Pacers, too. I mean, those two teams are really coming for the 76ers and Knicks. I don't know, man. It's really tight. It's really tight. 76ers still there in 5th seed. But Magic and Pacers both with 34 wins. And Knicks are not too far ahead. So it's not safe.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think Thibodeau is really going to take his foot off the pedal. And I don't think
Oh, no, that's not happening. No.
That's not happening at all. So at the expense of keeping the 4th seed, who knows where you guys are in terms of health at the start of the postseason. So hopefully you guys accept being a 6th seed because I think the Knicks match up fine against anybody. They're going to fight the same. They're going to keep the same advantages I think that they have. And it would be better to be healthy.
6th seed against the Cavs or the Bucks, probably. Yeah. See what happens there.
Yeah, I would definitely take that. I mean, strategically, I mean, if the Cavs are there, if they're still there in the 2 seed, easily, I would not worry about that because it's just perception wise, what we saw from them last season.
Yeah, Nick's got that psychological advantage on those Cavs, you know. Yeah, that's gotta be the way that it is. So is it time for me to ruin your day with a quiz?
No, I'm gonna ruin yours actually.
Oh, okay.
This one's gonna be easy because I was looking at as we were talking about pick and roll efficiency and something that we think maybe the Rockets should have. It's a good time to think like who are the best creators in the league in pick and roll. One of them will surprise you. Can you name the top 5? I'll give you 10 chances.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, let's see who we got in the pick and roll. Steph Curry and Draymond in there. We got to name 2.
Not partners, just
okay, so
the ball handler.
Steph Curry?
No, he's not in the top 7.
Damn. Let's see. Dame should be in there, but he probably isn't.
Nope, not even in the top 7. I believe he's 8th.
Oh damn. God, really, really good start here for me. Luka?
Obvious one. Yep.
Okay.
He's 3rd.
Keep it smart there. Jamal Murray?
Interesting. No, not in the top 7.
Okay.
I think he was out of the top 10.
Who else have we got now? I'm trying to think of like the legit player. Donovan Mitchell?
No, not in the top 7.
God damn, I'm doing so well here. Tyrese Maxey?
See how this feels? No.
Oh man.
You got to go for the obvious one, man.
Who am I?
Luka's an obvious one. Who's another obvious one?
Yeah, who else is another obvious one? I'm trying.
Stay in the Western Conference.
Western
Conference.
Anthony Edwards?
He is, I believe, 9th or 10th. He is not in the top 7.
Oh god, this is going so well. James Harden.
He is in the top 10.
Oh man,
he is not in the top 5.
Oh god, who the hell am I forgetting in the Western Conference? Who's the opposite one I'm forgetting? Is it Devin Booker?
Two guesses. No? Yes, he's
there
5th.
We go.
He is 5th.
Devin Booker. Okay. Who else have we got then? It's obviously there's a few guys that should be in there that obviously aren't, which is definitely throwing me a lot. Is Jalen Brunson in there?
He is 7th.
Okay.
Close to 6th.
All right.
Who do you think is the top in the league? Potential MVP.
Shea
is the best.
Okay, yeah, that was a stupid one. I should have. That's bad. That's a bad L. So what have I got? Did I get 2?
So Shea is 1st, unknown 2nd, Luka's 3rd, your boy Halliburton is 4th.
Oh,
Booker is 5th. You would never in a million years guess the 2nd in points per possession and efficiency, which lead to their percentile. So this is the 2nd.
Something like Kobe White.
No. Terry Rozier.
Gee, damn.
Second, that stretch of scoring he had earlier in the season has to be really fluffing those numbers up. But yeah.
Yeah, big time. I was never getting Terry Rozier. Damn. Yeah, that's that one was definitely no. There was not. We could have been here all day. I wouldn't have guessed Terry Rozier.
No, never. You'd never get it. Yeah, Jalen Brunson. I'm surprised you didn't. Surprised you didn't say that first.
Yeah, I was kind of just thinking
I was gonna say that first.
yeah. There was a few bad ones there that I didn't get. Like Tyrese, obviously, that was a terrible one. Like he's my boy. How did I not think of him as a legit one there? Yeah, there was a few bad misses there. I think I just gotta take my medicine on that one. Like you did the modern time, so I'll go for the history one on my quiz for you. Okay.
Let's do it.
Can you name the 11 players with
11. Can I name 11 players?
with 10 plus 30-point triple doubles? Now,
30-point
the
triple
hint I'll
doubles.
give you from the start here: do not overthink this.
Yeah,
That's
all
all I
right.
say. Just
Okay.
don't overthink it, and you'll be fine.
11. All right. Russell Westbrook,
Yes.
James Harden,
Yes.
LeBron James,
Yes.
Nikola Jokic,
Yep.
Joel Embiid.
No, not Joel Embiid. He's not. He doesn't do triple doubles. Come on.
He's had a few. All right. So let's go to how about we're gonna have to go back here. So let's give one to Magic Johnson.
Bingo.
Let's give Larry Bird.
Mm-hmm.
How about did MJ?
Mm-hmm. 16
Okay.
times.
Okay. I wonder how many of those what was the year where he decided to be point MJ.
A lot, probably.
All right, so I got 3 more to go.
Four more.
I got 4?
Mhm.
4. Can we throw in Steph Curry?
No.
Yeah. Steve Nash.
Nope. Steve Nash doesn't score 30 points.
I know. Oh, so that was throw on there. Who's getting 30 points? Oh, okay. So, I mean, I feel like the answer for all these is always like, if I don't say Wilt first, then that's dumb. So I should just say Wilt.
Yep.
Okay. So I got 3 more to go. Okay. 30-point triple doubles. I'm stalling. Give me a hint.
Okay, let's see. You got 2 guys who are still playing, still thriving, and 1 throwback.
2 are still playing and still thriving. 10. I don't think Kevin Durant. Is it Kevin Durant? All right, 30-point triple. 10 30-point triple doubles. 10 30-point triple doubles who are currently playing and thriving. Can we get Jason Tatum?
You cannot.
Oh man, okay. Giannis.
Bingo. 17.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Giannis. Who's still playing? I already said Harden.
Mm-hmm.
Kawhi?
No. Kawhi has like 1 career triple double or something now. So you got 1 guy still playing, and the other guy is the original Mr. Triple Double from way back when.
The original triple double.
60s, 70s.
Oscar.
106.
Oh wow. Yeah, and then Russ. Yeah, that was Russ.
Russ got 48.
Who is still playing now? Is he a big? You said playing and thriving. Thriving. The emphasis on thriving.
Who's thriving that you haven't mentioned yet?
Sabonis.
Not Sabonis.
Not a big. Shea?
No, not Shea. You're in the right conference at least.
Booker?
No.
Dude, I think It's not Fox.
Oh man, you were
I
just
think it's
struggling here.
yeah. It's it. I'm done.
You're done. Luka Doncic.
Oh my god. See, this is painful.
Just
painful.
past LeBron for third most all time with 39 30-point triple doubles. I thought you would have got Luka now. Like you did good there though.
That was the most obvious one.
Yeah.
That was the most obvious one.
I liked how you got
the most
Magic
obvious
and
one.
Bird and MJ early. That was those were good shits because they're kind of ones like especially like Bird and like you wouldn't think Magic of having 30-point triple doubles and like even MJ like that. Those were good shouts. But like I said, you didn't overthink it and you did well there. Yeah, 10 of 11 can't go wrong.
Last one was so easy. This is insane. All right, I'll take the L there.
Yeah, that's just the way it goes. You did a lot better than I did on my quiz, so like that's you can take the win. You can take the win for today, which is always good. But I think that's going to do it for today's episode. Chris, thank you so much for joining me, and to all our listeners, thank you so much for being here with us. Remember, you like what you're hearing, we are everywhere on social media at Coast to Coast NBA, and most importantly, remember to take every shot and love every moment.
Peace out.